What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast. We talk the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? So welcome to Monday's episode. So Monday and Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursday's Ask a CISSP, where I have interviews with movers and shakers in the industry. Nothing right now. I have something scheduled for mid-month, so that means you probably won't see it to the end of the month. And then Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, all that good stuff. So without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from bleepingcomputer.com, written by Lawrence Abrams. And the title of this one is WestJet Investigates Cyberattack Disrupting Internal Systems. So WestJet, which is the second largest airline in Canada, is aware of a cybersecurity incident, right? So it involved their internal systems in the WestJet app. And so it restricted access for a lot of users. But as with everything, right? So like even I'm a user of airline apps and whatnot. This could be one of those things where it could be very inconvenient because I know when I'm traveling and I'm flying with the one that I use, it does a lot for you, right? So like when your gates are canceled, it tells you that. Like sometimes it's even before they even announce it over the intercom, you know what I mean? So it can be inconvenient sometimes when dealing with this, but they seem to have reacted quickly to this, right? So they talk about it on the site about how some services were down, right? And they say they don't know whether or not it's from the attack itself or whether or not they took action and just started cutting things off to prevent the breach from going further, right? Which would be a good thing, right? Like if you see something is going on, you want to kind of like, you want to cut the hard line, right? That's what we talk about, cut the hard line to make sure it doesn't spread, right? So, but yeah, it prevented users from logging into the website, the mobile app, right? The services were restored. Like I said, it was fairly quickly. They had an update yesterday for us that are recording, talking about how the operations continue to run safely, right? But there is some small hiccups that they're going through, but they went and tried to contact WestJet to get a little bit more information, but they haven't provided anything, which could be a good thing, right? Because it's one of those things where yes, we had an issue, but we want to get the full scale of it before we put out there what may have happened, right? They don't say anything about anybody's information being hacked or anything, right? Because when you sign up for all these apps and everything, you got to give a little bit more information about yourself, right? And it's one of those things where just an accumulation of things that are already out there can lead to those second and third order effects where you can get phished and things of that nature. So they're probably waiting to get a little bit more information to see what all damage was done, how much they may have prevented, if they did indeed start cutting stuff off before it got to be too bad. We'll have to wait and see, right? As with all of these, it's never a quick 1, 2, 3 day thing, right? There's always the follow-on effects of this because of how the world works in this day and age, right? Because everything is tied to technology. When you have cyber attacks like this, because you've given up so much, I mean, not say given up so much of your information, but because you've given up some information, right? Name, email, things of that nature. It just leaves it open to have those phishing attacks and things of that nature. So we'll see what WestJet does with it. Again, second largest airline in Canada. Hopefully they stopped it in time to where no real damage was done. But again, there's already so much out there to where it may not be the case. But Ryan, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah. No, I think you covered it pretty well. I forgot to mention up front. So if you are listening on the radio, you get everything all at once, right? So even though I said Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you get everything one chunk on 99.1 FM on the Atlanta metro area or TuneIn app. So I had to plug that as well. So my only gripe with this is their business continuity, disaster preparedness plan for it, right? So like you said, they probably, cut the hard line, like the famous Transformers meme. But if they had practiced for this, they would know what disruptions they would have had from doing so, right? Like you're supposed to drill for this. You're supposed to have exercises every year, whether it be for weather or cyber attack or what have you. And when you test out in this case, they might call it service continuity. Most people call it business continuity. But as you unplug said servers or things that of that nature that replicate what it would have been like to be attacked, you will know which apps and other things stop to function, and you would have a plan to either build resiliency in, so that way if we unplug server A, server B takes over or what have you, or you would have known what steps to try to mitigate the issue, right? So I think that you never want to test your business continuity or service continuity in the moment. So I think that's what's kind of currently happening. Or they were attacked in a way that they just could not have predicted, right? They didn't know that, okay, this would cause us said issues. So in my mind, right, as you're sitting there and you're planning for an event, because every company should be any company that has access to the internet, right? If you're plugged in to the World Wide Web, you should be drilling or practicing this. You would have known what type of service degradation you would have had before it even happened. So your customers wouldn't have been impacted. Because I too use the apps because, like you said, you're able to track your bags. It's going to tell you when gates change, especially if you're flying international. Like domestic, not so bad. Like gates are not that far away, but international, you don't speak the language. You need somebody to tell you that your gate changed, right? So that could definitely impact people. Like, obviously, they're traveling to the U.S. because they love us. They're our cousins, right? Like aside from worldwide events, so we all speak the lingo. They're fine. I kid. They're probably getting off of North America as quickly as possible, right? To enjoy the rest of the world. I say it to say just this should be a reminder to other companies, right? To your Deltas, your JetBlues, your, United, Air France, et cetera, that you should take this. Like you would assume they would meet up at some point too, right? Discuss this type of stuff to war game and pre-game in case of disruptions. So hopefully they share the executive summary or whatever comes out of this report to say, hey, this is what happened to us. We didn't know that it will cause these particular type of issues um, due to breach or ransomware, malware infection, or what have you. Because yeah, it does suck to be traveling and then your app doesn't work. Like even boarding passes, right? Like what if you didn't print them? I always print them. I always have a backup just in case something were to fail. But a lot of people don't. They just have their phone because they assume it's going to work until it doesn't.
What's crazy is I used to do the same thing. Like I would always print the boarding passes, even though I would have the app. And the last time I flew, I didn't do it. I was like, let me just not have to keep up with the paper. But yeah, this is a great reminder. I know,
On the wild side.
I know. But I've done it for years. Like I've always done it. But to another point that you made though, man. So when you talked about at least practicing it yearly, I think when it comes to business and the loss of profit, I think this is one of the things that they will just gloss over, right? So like me and you are used to it because in the military, you had to do this stuff quarterly. You know, at least tabletop it, right? Like even if you weren't cutting the hard line, right?
Right.
You'd have to at least tabletop it to see, hey, this is what we would do in this situation. And I think when it comes to business, it's just something they because it can cost the money. Because even if you're trying to practice something that you like, I think I know all the controls here. If for whatever reason you didn't anticipate something and it does go down, then you have a loss of public trust, right? For people not wanting to fly your airline, they're like they can't even keep the lights on over there. You know what I mean? Every quarter something is going down. What's going on with WestJet? You know what I mean? So I think it's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying this from any type of experience because I don't have experience with this in the civilian sector, but I just don't think they want to risk it, right? Like it's probably one of those things they just check off and be like, yeah, we have a plan in place, right? It's over there in the corner collecting dust.
Right,
But
right. And it could just be that simple, or it could be expensive to do the testing. Like they might not have a testing environment, right? Everything might be production, which again, super dangerous. And I can't. I assume they don't. I assume that just like everybody else, they've given as much away to a cloud service provider as possible. Right? They're like, we have a very small data center, and then the rest is in the cloud. But again, you don't know until you test and you gotta plan for all the weird contingencies that could potentially happen. Like, oh no, the payroll department clicked a link. So as we start to unplug things, how will this impact us? And you find out weird things like, oh, I didn't know that this app or this service would impact this service over here, right? It's just
it's the interdependencies of it all, right? Like,
Mhm.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Good luck to WestJet. I've never actually flown WestJet. Like I've flown a lot of airlines over, the military career. I don't even know if I've seen a WestJet to be honest with you. Like I've seen there's another Canadian airline that I see all the time. Then of course Alaska Airlines and all the other obscure airlines. WestJet was like when I saw this, I was like, I didn't think Canada immediately. Like and they're probably like the largest like airline or something like that. I just don't go to Canada enough. Like I could drive. I was in Buffalo.
They're the second largest in Canada. I think I've seen them on the sign. Like when you go into Denver's airport, they have two sides to it. And it's like they show which terminal, which side
Mm,
for which airline. I think I've seen it on their board, but it's among like it's got to be at least 100 airlines or something they list.
right, right.
Denver's airport is huge, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then you have, you guys are are more like flying to Winnipeg or flying to Toronto or Ottawa or whatever. I'm out across the Peace Bridge, hop on the what is it, QEW, Queens Expressway. I'm on my way. I'm in Toronto, 30 minutes. So yeah, I never had to fly to Canada or over Canada for that fact, right? Like I can't think of a time where I flew over Canada. So interesting. Definitely continue to tune in for all this obscure airline talk throughout the week. On Monday and Tuesday are our topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays Ask at CISSP, Fridays everything else. Again, if you listen to us on the radio, you won't even hear this part anyway. But for those who decide to listen to us on the radio, you get everything all in one chunk. Hit up the websites that go by our name, the other side of the firewall.com, as well as ramcyber.io. Give me a person. I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. You can find me pretty much everywhere, but LinkedIn is where I'm most responsive. Stay safe. Stay secure.